Meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees called to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Abraham?
Here.
Lynch?
Here.
Uhrig?
Yes.
And Kish. I have the meeting minutes from the January 25th, 2022 regular meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees. The meeting was called to order at 7 p.m. by Trustee Uhrig. Pledge to the flag. Roll call, Abraham, Uhrig, and Kish present. Lynch was absent. Also in attendance, Case Marsh, R. Bechter, R. Herring, and R. Cerrone. 1722, a motion by Abraham, seconded by Uhrig, to approve the January 11th, 2022 meeting minutes as read. All ayes. 1822, a motion by Uhrig, seconded by Abraham. Move to approve that the December 2021 credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed for policy and is accepted as presented, subject to investigation. All ayes. 1922, a motion by Uhrig, seconded by Abraham. Move to approve the bills and financial reports with reservations. All ayes. Or under correspondence, Fiscal Officer Kish noted a letter received from the Lorain County Stormwater Management District regarding backups of water in our area. Copies will be provided after the meeting. Under reports, under ambulance, nothing to report. As an ambulance board, they are only meeting once a year. Under zoning, 1 permit so far this month. Under fire prevention officer, hopefully having a work session to discuss fees in the near future. Trustee Uhrig noted that he did speak with the prosecutor's office and we cannot use funds from our fire fund for smoke alarms in residents' homes. Road, Park, and Cemetery, Road Superintendent Smarsh reported mostly dealing with snow and ice. The new backhoe has arrived and the old backhoe was accepted as a trade-in. Looking at the mini grant for the stormwater, they are now accepting applications and he will be working with Linda to get the grant done tomorrow. The amount has been increased from $5,000 to $7,500. A resolution can be passed at the next meeting. Under complaints, they are being handled by the designated individuals. Trustee Uhrig noted that the Solid Waste Consortium met and it looks like there will be a field fuel charge increase. 1122, a motion by Uhrig, seconded by Abraham, authorizing all actions necessary to accept Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, NOPEC, 2022 Community Energized Community Grants. All ayes. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, February 8th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. 1122, a motion by Abraham, seconded by Uhrig, to adjourn at 7:21 p.m. All ayes.
Are there any changes or corrections to the January 25th meeting minutes?
Not that I'm aware of. David?
I have none.
Can I have a motion then to approve as read?
So move.
Second?
Uhrig,
Yes.
Abraham,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Okey-dokey. Under financials, under the reports, you've got the payment listing in front of you, which was not necessarily boilerplate because we have the fourth quarter payment to the fire department in there, which also included, I believe, painting of the fire hydrants and maintenance. There was something in there with the fire hydrants, the other fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Besides painting it, I think it was maintenance.
They might have had the flushing in there too.
And then Chris Nyhart's inspection fees were in there, and then, of course, the EMS and the fire charges, which are also in the packet that I had you sign. Everything else is pretty much standard for the month. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, David and Denny here, Chris. Chris did inquire as to paying the fire and EMS costs, the ARPA funds, and at this time, and whether she should hold this until the next meeting, hoping that we'd have further information, because based on discussions and different sessions at the Ohio Township Association Winter Conference, I received contradictory information from two groups. One presentation was put on by Stacy Massey from the Office of Budget Management. The other presentation was put on by two attorneys. And let's see, those two attorneys were from, just bear with me, Baker and Dublacar, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So at this point, based on that, we didn't want to go ahead and pay with ARPA funds, and we do have funds in the fire and EMS fund to use it. And we'll cover that more detail on this inconsistency between different people's interpretation on eligible expenditures for ARPA. But the other thing that's more important here, in the use of those funds, we want to use those as best we can, particularly for long-term projects for the township that'll benefit people in the long run, albeit it's not going to be that much. We've received the $301,000 already. Next year we'll get another $301,000. But if we do anything, the two funds we most want to support are the general fund and the road and bridge fund at this point in time. We've got a healthy balance in the fire and EMS. And right now, it's close as far as what our current expenses in fire and EMS are versus the revenue we're bringing in. They almost balance out. Sometimes we'll lose a little bit, sometimes we might be okay. We know long-term it's going to start eating away, though, at that carryover balance. But, the other funds we know we're always skinny on. So this time we're paying those all out of fire and EMS, and, if you look at the detailed sheet, you'll see which accounts they're coming out of. But just so you guys are aware, we kind of made that, get this paid, so we're not holding it up. The service has already been provided, and let's pay it out of the fire and EMS fund. So,
Okay.
all right, so if there's no other questions then on the bills or financial reports, can I have a motion to pay the bills and approve the financial reports with reservation?
So move.
Second.
Uri?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes. Okay, is there anything else there, Chris?
Not under financials.
Okay. Under here, under the financials, we do have the agenda item only because it is pretty critical for us at this time of the ARPA funds. And again, just for a quick review, when this first came out, we were given four main areas we could expend funds on with what the Treasury determined was the interim final rule. Well, let me back up. When it first was approved, townships as non-entitlement units of government weren't even shown as being eligible for the funding. Something changed when it went between the House and the Senate at the federal level. So subsequent to that, after quite a bit of lobbying and support from all of our elected federal representatives in Ohio, they kind of punted the ball back to the Treasury. There was a move, the Senate had passed unanimously to make townships eligible. The House had it in committee, but then before that, Treasury came out and determined that, hey, we've issued all the money that was allocated on a per capita basis of the state. They punted it and said, as far as we're concerned, it's up to the state. So the state of Ohio did determine that townships now would be eligible for funding, and even the municipal league supported that. We were concerned they might fight it because obviously for somebody to receive something, your assumption was somebody would get less. The reality is they didn't, because the state received all the money. The municipalities and villages were already allocated their money based on a per capita basis. But what did happen when the state decided to give the money to the townships, it only came out to about half of what the original estimates were based on what was allocated by the federal government. And that's not going to change. But there's been other opportunities where we could apply for funding, such as we did the ODOT stimulus program, which is all funded by ARPA money, where we're hoping we get approved and can get the rehab of Overland Road between Middle Ridge and North Ridge after the county completes their sanitary sewer program, which they expect that sanitary sewer extension to be completed in the summer of 2022. So we would probably, or was it summer 2023?
Yes.
So it'd be 2023, then we'd be repaving Overland Road if we're awarded funding. And even that's suspect because obviously they reported at the OTA Winter Conference the amount of funding that was requested versus the amount of funding available, and it's obviously the requests are way above what's available, so we'll see. But in any case, with the ARPA funding we currently have $301,000 available. At a session that was put on by state, well, let me back up again. So then there was the interim final rule, if we recall, gave us 4 categories we could expend money on. For us, the only realistic one that would be long-term is on stormwater, sanitary sewer, or water projects. We don't own any water line or sanitary line, so we can only do that indirectly. The only utility that we own as a township is stormwater. So that's where we were directing our initial expenditures, and that's how we were able to justify the replacement of the backhoe, which was timely for us and a major expense. And then Kevin's already received quotes for replacement of the box on a truck, so not replacing the whole truck, just replacing the box. And those are still eligible, and then obviously the stormwater projects we have in place. But then the final rule came out January 6th of 2022, and to make things administratively convenient, is communities have the option of passing a standard resolution of reduction of funds for up to $10 million. But your choice is, if you pass that, 10 million is the max you can claim as the standard allowance of reduced revenue. And the way I read it, that's open to any expenditure, whether it's general fund, roads, zoning, anything. And that's the way the Ohio Office of Budget Management reads it. But I sat in a session here by these attorneys and they contradicted that. So immediately following that, I sent an email off while I was still at the conference to Stacy Massey from the Office of Budget Management saying, hey, what's going on here? I heard one thing in your session on federal funds, and obviously the big focus was on the ARPA expenditures. I heard a different session. I gave the attorney's law firm's name, and you've got a copy in your packet, the very first document there of that email, and they definitely confirm, yes, we can use it for all general expenditures, including the wages and benefits of our road crew, township administration. The reality is anything we use our general fund or road funds for. I then discussed this with the OTA representative, Marissa Myers, for Government Affairs, saying, hey, Marissa, I'm concerned different people are going to these sessions, and depending upon which session you go to, you'll get conflicting information. And I also heard in the session I was in with the attorneys from Baker Dublicar that they had an arrangement with the OTA that they were the ones that were going to put together this template resolution that they would suggest we use for the claiming the standard allowance for the reduction of funds. And how they word that will depend how our expenditures, what projects or expenses the funds are eligible to be used for. And her recommendation was just do what your prosecutor, talk with your prosecutor. And I said, well, we're definitely going to do that. I had originally in the discussion with Lorraine County Prosecutor's Office, specifically Dan Petticourt, when the Treasury came out with this new final rule, I had teased him that he'll have some relief because I was blitzing him with email requests on his opinion on the eligible expenditures we were doing. But with this, if we looked at it, I wouldn't have to contact him anymore, and he even referred to it as a golden ticket. I was also hoping it would make it easier. We wouldn't have to have Linda, our township administrator, keeping a detailed spreadsheet of every expenditure and where it's used and how it's used, so that when we have the audit, we have everything in line. And then Chris wouldn't have to be so concerned with having that backup attached with the invoices. So I'm still hoping it comes out that way. And I've given you the template of one of the standard resolutions, or the template resolution that this law firm put together. And I think we can adjust that to our needs once we get a ruling from the prosecutor's office. But we're going to hold off until after February 17th. The meeting of Lorraine County Township Association, the prosecutor is going to be present there. Is going to be, the main topic is going to be the eligible expenditures of ARPA funds. And this meeting was set up before Treasury came out with that final rule, so that'll make some adjustments. But one of the big items that will get cleared up is this inconsistency in some of the discussion that went on at various sessions at the OTA Winter Conference. And I will be in contact with Dan Petticourt long before that, and I'm hoping that he comes to the same decision that I have, that once we pass this standard allowance for revenue loss, that we don't have to be maintaining these detailed records. It'll make it easier for, we won't have to have Kevin and Eddie and, off and on occasionally Daryl keeping track on their timesheets when it is eligible as they're working on these expenses. It just creates a lot of extra work for an organization that operates with predominantly part-timers and 2 full-timers. And so if we can get that opinion from the prosecutor's office, then I think we're back to, as the term the prosecutor used, receiving the golden ticket in the utilization of these funds. The one other issue is, I know that the state level and even at the federal level, and this is listed in the rule, saying unlike the CARES Act where they put you under the gun, you had to spend that money real fast, is they want you looking at this longer term. Well, we've got to keep in mind, this isn't creating a rainy day fund, but we still have, the funds must be incurred by the, let's see, it was 2020, December 31st, 2024. But we could actually expend them through 2026. Well, that means you've already got a project, you got a contractor that's won a bid, and something delays a project. As long as it gets completed and all the invoices come in by 2026, you can use ARPA funds. If you didn't use them all up because something got delayed, guess what? You got to return them. Well, let's think about this. We don't come close to that 10 million threshold. We would be better in the long-term planning if we could just use them for the routine wages and benefits and use them all up and incur them that way. And we did put that on our list as a possibility. We're going to have to adjust our list of incurred ARPA funds. But if we can use that, protect those other funds, now we can actually look at something where we don't even have that 2026 date as the limitation. And whether that is continuing with the stormwater issues, or whether it's looking at areas that we would have to do in conjunction with a neighboring community or with the County Board of Commissioners, where we're talking about real infrastructure projects. So I don't know with Dave and Denny if, I would think that's probably what your preference would be, and something we would have more discussions during our budget meetings. But that really puts no time limit as far as when we would have to have a project completed as the ARPA funds do. And the reality is, even though technically they give you till the 2026, I would expect I wouldn't wait till the last minute, because you don't want to be where you've committed Amherst Township to a project expecting to use those funds, and then because of some delay, you can't use them and you have to give them back, and guess what? We've got to dig up those funds somewhere, and we can't go negative in those accounts. I mean, it's just not something that we can even borrow for. So that's really all I had to say about that. You'll see you've got the two documents there to read at your leisure, but we probably will wait until hopefully on the 17th, by then we have good information from the prosecutor's office, and then we would have on February 22nd would be the soonest that we would pass this standard resolution of revenue loss, so that we would have that document. And hopefully, Chris, that is the key document that would be necessary for the audit. We would have to list how we're going to use those funds. But as Stacy Massey had said, use the easy part, and she was kind of the same opinion. Use those funds for your regular activities now. That gives you the opportunity to really start doing planning where you don't feel like you're under duress, that you have to do something right now. And we all know how things work with even any development opportunity coming in. We can't actually dictate when that might happen, and where we might see where we can use a potential development as also an opportunity to spur the infrastructure installation within our township to get a much better situation for the township as a whole. So that's it on the ARPA funds. If there's no questions, we're going to move on to the welcoming, since we do have somebody here. So, sir, if you want to give your name and state what reason you have for coming, if you care to.
So my name is Tom Anderson. Live over here in the Valley, and actually I'm president of the Amherst Athletic Association. And so over the past couple of years, with everything that's been going on, we have lost we haven't been able to use the St. Joe's fields. And it looks like this year they're trying to get it so that we might be able to do it. But we are seeing our registration is open now for the first time. We've opened it in January. And out of the 400 kids that have already signed up, 200 have never played before. So we're already looking at a situation where we're going to need some sort of fields as, extra. Trinity has already been working with us great. And it was nice because our deal with St. Joe's was we leased those fields and then paid to maintain them. So every year that we've used them since 1985, that's been the deal. And so right now, what we're looking to do is try and find a place to, like, we're working with the schools, trying to see if, like, Shoup School, the old land there would be an option, or the land over on Dewey, it would be an option to get in order to try and, to get fields going for the kids. But in the meantime, what we're looking to do is find other places where we can play. And so, I know that there were teams that would practice over at the township fields, when they were available. I guess my question is how do we get on that rotation? I know there's a lot of teams that use those fields, but is there a way that we could, maybe on certain days or a day a week, have those fields available so that we could have baseball, softball on those fields?
Do you have the current contact information?
No, I don't.
Kevin, do you have the current contact information? Okay. Let me explain, Tom. We've got memos of understanding with the soccer groups and also with the baseball group. The softball didn't renew it after, I think, the girls aged out. But it gives them priority, but they've got to set what their schedule is.
Correct.
And I'd have to look at the agreement again on the term, but then they have the ability to continue that, because they don't want to be where they find out the term ends and we can't continue. So we'd have to look at what that is.
Perfect.
and have you in contact with them. Between you guys, you might be able to work out where the fields are available for both of you. As far as maintenance, that's where it gets, now we've got a current baseball group that takes care of the maintenance of the field. We
That's
still
the
cut the
Rebels group,
grass
yeah.
and whatnot,
Right,
but,
right.
bringing in added soils that they need as it gets dug
Sure.
out, the striping that they need to do,
Right.
if there's modifications as far as identifying the home run fence and, dugouts and all that stuff, they take care of.
Sure.
But with that, then you'd have to come in with a very similar agreement, but we'd have to know between the two groups to understand that, you don't get that infighting. It won't be a problem with the soccer field as long as you're not, if you don't have the older kids that can hit the ball out there.
Right,
when
yeah,
they
we
flick.
would, if the soccer fields would strictly be practice, just so we can go shag little fly ball. I mean, we wouldn't try and play it, because we've done away with blast ball for the kids. We've have taken T-ball down a year, so now T-ball, is preschool and kindergarten. So we're trying to get them on the fields, because we find that if they do too many games in the grass, when they move up, they're not ready for those, and it's not good for the kids. So as far as the the infighting, and the bottom line is we're just here for the kids, and so whatever we can get, if it's one day or whatever, that's great for us. We just want to be able to have at least other places where we could say, okay, on these days, this is and whatever we can do to help. I mean, the schools have just, they just, donated 2 brand new vehicles for us to use to help maintain fields, which is going to help us a lot. In fact, they just they are building a new storage shed for us, so that we've kind of repaired the relationship there, so that now we're, again, because we're serving the kids, like, this is what we're here for. And so that's why what we're trying to do, again, we had like a 3-year lease, I think, is what we ended up signing with Trinity. St. Joe's is always year by year by year. And so to your point, like, it got to the, we have no problem investing, into the fields that we're going to be using. But when we were investing and then they were taken from us, it was like, it gets to that, we'd like to have it just the same exact kind of thing that you just said. We would like to know that it's the right of first refusal the next year, if it's okay, if, as long as we maintain the agreement that, that we can have the fields again. So, yeah, that would be great. Like, and whatever we can, at this point, we were able to, working with the other cities, that we were able to do, we were able to maintain fields we had 860 kids play last year. So, and we didn't have any real problems about missing. Some of the rain, kind of washed out some of the games. But again, we'd love to be able to not only, help take care of the fields, but then use them. Plus, gosh, we have so many kids over here from the valley. They would just be really cool to have, right here in our backyard. So.
Okay, Kevin, do you know the smaller field, the softball field, was that used the last year
Yes.
Yeah.
by a league then?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was travel ball on both of those travel, because we used to come down here and watch, and I know most of those coaches and stuff. So we used to come and watch them, and that's so I knew that they were both being used, and I knew that the softball team, I know that when that kind of fizzled out, that whole travel program fizzled out, and that's just what happens. And I thought that Rebels program had gotten taken over by T3, and I didn't know if they were still going to, and I figured they would want to use the fields because the fields are so nice,
Yeah, I still seen the signs. Now, I know I'm still talking with the same contacts that I have, like Dave Parson, he's
yeah.
one of them.
Yeah.
But I still seen the Rebel sign this past summer that was up on one of the fields, so.
Yeah, I know the Rebels baseball is still there, and they're still going strong, which is great. But yeah, so if we can, I'll give you my information, and then that way, if we can just kind of figure out how we can make that work, that'd be great.
Yeah, if we can get your email too on that,
Oh,
Tom,
sure.
so that, you can see the current agreements, but we really need to talk with the other groups to make sure there's no conflict. And it might be nicer if you guys can work on agreeing to days that, are mutually beneficial, then it's just a matter of having that agreement between you and the township, because then you guys do get the preferential treatment, because obviously we got people that have their, picnics and whatnot down there too, and they all know their public field. as long as one of these other groups doesn't have a preferred time,
Sure.
it's open for everyone to use.
Sure.
I'm sure living in the valley, you see
Yeah.
where
Oh, yeah.
different families are down
Right.
there playing all the time.
I mean, we're down there all the time on the wall. So yeah, to that point, yeah, that's why we know. I mean, it's a nice thing to have. And when we started talking as a board of different play, I mean, there are a lot of fields, like some of the travel ball have started going into Lorraine, where we find that we'd have to put more money into fixing those fields for not as many games are allowed to play, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we, as a nonprofit, we've got to try and make sure that, just like you were saying, funds that are going into the right places, so that we're not hurting ourselves on the back end. And so we look at places like Trinity, which was right here, in town, as some place that we started putting money in there. Yes, it's not our field, but now we have the right of first refusal coming back every year because the place looks great now. When we talked about these fields, I mean, these fields look fantastic. And so if it's already, the ship's going in the right way, and all we've got to do is do what we do with all the school fields that we prep, all year, then should be good. But that's kind of, I guess, my question was, who is using them, and if there is a way that we can work on a some sort of agreement to certain days, like that'd be fantastic. I don't how that works.
I mean, Dave and Denny, you guys, if we can work it out.
Yes, if it can be worked out.
Perfect. The other question I would have in that same ilk, and just because you guys would know, and I haven't lived in the Valley for long, in Amherst my whole life, but is there any place that you guys can think of, and this, we're out of box thinking, township wise, that we could put a clover leaf of fields? Because we don't want to take it out of Amherst per se, right? So Amherst Township would be great, Amherst City would be great, and so we're trying to just, we're going through these grant writing, things right now. So we're looking at, and there's a ton of grants, for kids in these kind of organizations. So we're thinking by going that route that we might be able to, and then plus I'm talking with like the Tysons of the world and the KTMs about putting, a field and sponsoring a field somewhere. We just don't really know of a place where something like that, or that would be. So again, same situation. If there's anything that comes to mind or whatever, and if you can think of something, that we'd love to know, just because, again, we want to make sure that with talking with the city, since, this is going on 75 years, the Amherst Athletic Association has been around, and not having a Parks and Rec department, like this
Right.
whole rec is run with like seriously 5 guys right now. It's just crazy.
Well, thank you for doing this. I don't know if you're aware, the former mayor, Dave Taylor,
Oh, Dave.
was
Oh.
in your shoes at one
Yep,
time
yep.
for many years, even after
God bless
his son
him,
was
'cause
well beyond that.
interesting story. Dave Taylor's nephew sponsored 2 teams. He owns a business in Cleveland, and because Dave's passion for the Amherst Athletic Association, his nephew sponsored 2 teams this year. Wrote this great letter, and it was pretty neat to see. But yes, to that point, Chuck Winarski right now, who is in council,
Oh, Chuck.
he's also was in my shoes, and so working with Chuck to talk to the mayor and try to figure out if there's any possibility to get some sort of Parks and Rec department set, would be great. But in the meantime, I'm looking at with what we currently have, just to make sure that we have fields just for the kids.
Well, you already mentioned the school property on Dewey Road, which is in the township.
Yeah.
I don't recall the acreage there, but I know I've walked that property with
Yeah.
Superintendent Sayers in the past. But that would be a decision of the schools, but
Yeah.
they do own property there. If you've been there, it's rough property right now.
Yeah, and it was nice because with the guys that we have that work there, I work with our group. Of course, that property, and we get to meet, to the Sayers, probably every other month now, and the relationship's excellent. Every single time we meet with them, I always bring up Shoup and I always bring up Dewey Road. Just ask if they're ready to give it to us, or sell it to us for $1, or how, because again, that's all it's about, is for the kids. And so it's funny because I do believe Shoup is going to be one of those things that would fall first. For whatever reason, he loves that property on Dewey, and it is what it is. But yeah, I know that those 2 are the ones that we've got kind of circled, but you just kind of have these, these wish lists as where we could put other fields. In a perfect world, we'd be able to just take St. Joe's back over and, give that, back to the kids. But anyway, if we can work with these fields, that's a great first step. I would love to be able to have some games over there, just because I know how many kids come out of the valley to play, and it would just be kind of neat to. Well, first of all, I'd like to play over there just because I don't have to drive all the way out to wherever. So anyway,
The only other property we have really wouldn't be, so we allow soccer and football, wouldn't really be conducive to baseball because we can't commit in the long term. We wouldn't want you to invest and put, backstops and structure up, only to say we got to tear it down. So, we've got 9 acres here that we allow other sports teams.
Sure.
I don't think it'd be
no.
conducive for what you'd want.
No, but we would use-
Again, that structure could end up being torn down.
Sure, yeah, and to that point, we want, so we're at this, we'd kind of like either if it's already built, which we have fields here that are built, which are, so that would be perfect, just a first step. But if we can get like even the practice schedule for the soccer field so that we can practice, just set up, fly ball practice for, an age group or something, or run camps, because that's another thing that we're trying to incorporate more of this year, is just to get the kids out more, even if it's not practice, just with all, more like that age group. So just some ideas that we could, yes, that's a perfect place for that.
I'm sure the mayor's discussed the parks back there behind,
DePaula
behind-
Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tyson's buying up a ton of that, so.
Right, they are, but
Yeah.
I thought theirs was going to be on the east end.
So, yeah, it is, and they, they need all the soccer fields back. We've talked about it, like, because I even said we could get over right up against Tyson, and in talking to Tyson as well, that was one of the things I said, we'll buy up this park and then just put a couple baseball fields over, it would be a great little thing, just nice to have, but, it is, money is, or our property is valuable, which I get, but that's why I'm saying, there are parks that already have great fields, and if we can just get involved and help maintain those fields, then, we're going to be in good shape. I mean, the school has basically given us all of Nord, the field at Nord, both on Washington, East and West, and the junior high, like those are our fields for the whole summer. And so, we get to basically we maintain all those. And so we're able to have a lot of games, at night too, and through Trinity. So, but even just having another 2 fields would really just kind of reduce makeup game thing, and just kind of that stress.
Right.
So that would be great.
Oh, we'll try and help you out. I know the trustees here will support it, and, we've been real happy with the way the athletic team's doing, helping with the maintenance too and the cost there. And what has to happen. We understand how parents change over after their kids grow up, and they're all doing it volunteer. I mean, my hat's off to you guys. I know how much work that is.
Yeah, once we realized it was about the kids, it's been actually more of a passion now. First, it used to be a job, we used to dread having to go and try to figure out where we're getting these uniforms, all this stuff. But now it's, we have enough stories about, these differences that the kids are having, and, playing in the Amherst Athletic Association all growing up, there is a special place for it. So that's why I don't want it to go away. And that's why when there was down to 3 of us on the board trying to make all this happen, it's like, we still got to do it.
Yeah.
So, but that's great. I definitely appreciate this information. This will help. So, and the only other question I have, just because I'm here, and if I have a question about a permit on a structure I want to build on my property, do I just come here during office hours? Is that?
Yeah, 8 to 11, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday.
Perfect. I'll just come in tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
I just have a couple questions on something I want to build, a greenhouse I want to build, so I just want to see how.
Yeah, you
Make sure
can
I
do
put
that.
those.
You can always email Remy too. His email address is shown on the website.
Okay, perfect. Cool.
You
All right,
can't
great.
make those hours.
All right. Oh, I can. That's all I have. Thank you so much for
All
the
right,
time.
thanks,
Appreciate
Tom.
it.
And your last name is Anderson?
Last name's Anderson, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, we'll move on to the correspondence. Chris?
I do have a couple pieces of correspondence that I did not get to make copies of to put in your mailboxes, but one, I swore I sent this back already, but maybe it was on the energy. This is for the NOPEC Community Choice Natural Gas Aggregation Program, about opting out, if we want to opt out, and I think that I did bring this up once before.
For us as?
Yeah, for the township garage,
Okay.
but it might have been for the electric portion, I'm not
I
sure.
don't recall that, obviously, we're not going to opt out because to be eligible for the grant, you
Okay.
have to be opted in. I know what you brought up once before was they were offering a different program.
Okay.
And we had to choose, and there was only a limited number they would take, where the difference was you could either lock in at a rate right now, or you take the other one, which will always be a little bit lower, but it could vary on
Right.
you.
Okay, so I don't need to do anything with that one. Thank
No.
you. Then the other piece of correspondence we received was from the City of Elyria Public Utilities Office. I don't know if you recall at the last meeting or probably the meeting before that,
Meeting before.
we were talking about our bill was higher, and we had applied for a credit because they had told us, put in for a credit if we found there was a leak. They have denied the credit because we had rendered a request within the past 2 years. So in September of 2020, we received a credit from another leak we must have had. So I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Did we find
You
a
only get
leak?
to do it once every 2 years. I believe it was a toilet leaking. Kevin,
Yeah.
Really?
yeah. I think the first time around it was a sink, and this time it was a toilet, but you can only do that within 2 years, and
Well, how bad was it?
I have to look back at what the bill was. It was up there.
Either way, you're not going to fight City Hall on
Yep.
this one if that's their policy.
And that is all that I have. I can tell you in 1 second what that.
While Chris
Bill
is
was.
looking that up, David, do you have any correspondence?
I have nothing to bring forward at this time.
Okay, Denny?
No.
Okay, well, we'll wait till Chris gets that answer for
Yeah,
David.
it was $239.42, which,
What is it average?
now I have to look somewhere else, Debbie. Go to 2021. The lowest was 41.97, and the highest was 74.62. So we
So
were
it's
up
about-
200 and
Triple.
It's
$20.
3 times what it was,
3
or
times.
3.5
But
times.
it's fixed now, and it'll probably go back down to the,
Been a heck of a leak.
so that was all I had.
Yeah, well, fortunately, they got on it the day after that meeting, I believe, and got it taken care of. You were here then too, right, Remy? I think it was the next day they got it repaired.
Right. Because we had not even received the bill yet when I brought it up. We had just gotten a notice that we might want to look around and see if we had a leak. That's all I had.
Okay. Well, any of the correspondence I have deals with items on the agenda, so we'll cover them then. But I did put under announcements just a reminder that on April 26th at 7:30, we will have the bid opening for the Dewey Road project.
That's a
When is
regular
it,
meeting.
April
date,
26th?
right?
Yes, April 26th, and yes, that'll be a regular meeting. So we'll just go into the public bid opening on that date. It hadn't even been published yet because it's going to be later this month that Sean from the engineer's office will have the bid books put together, but he assured us that he would have them all together before that date, and I'll have Linda contact Sean before it goes into the Chronicle to make sure he still got that available. But I'm sure he will.
And that was for, you said Dewey Road?
That'll be the
Dewey Road
bid
project.
opening, yeah, this will be for Dewey Road this will be from Park Avenue north to North Ridge, that resurfacing. We'll move on to reports then, ambulance, Denny?
Nothing under ambulance, as you know. We're
Yeah.
only meeting once a year. So
Okay. Sheriff's not here. Zoning, Remy?
There was 0 permits for this month,
Wow.
and 0 houses year-to-date so far. Also, the zoning commission was tentatively going to be hearing a zoning amendment. It's probably going to be moved to March because of the application was not turned in the amount of time needed. Also, I'm going to be talking to Brandball Engineering tomorrow to see if they could get their application in for the design review. We'll see how that turns out.
That's for sandstone?
Yes,
Okay, so really in March, the zoning commission won't have a public hearing. They'll just in March receive the request for an amendment?
I think March 1st will be the amendment for the 2 billboards.
They're going to receive the request to amend the property from light industrial to RAG.
No, the other way around. RAG to light industrial.
Okay, but they're just receiving the request. There'll be no public hearing in March, is that correct?
The public hearing should be in March because he should have he'll have his application ready and they'll be able to publish it in the paper. And so they'd be
And
able
they'll
to.
get the information back from the county planning commission?
Yes,
And
that
their
should,
recommendations? Okay.
hopefully it should happen, yeah.
Where is this at?
That's right behind the Hill property. Penton's
Penton's?
Country Market,
Oh,
where it
okay.
abuts to Route 2.
That would be March 1st, Remy.
March 1st, correct.
They're gonna have the application, everything in already?
He was going to try to get it in for February. But he didn't do, I mean, not March, April.
April,
Oh, no, that makes a
okay,
little
now-
more,
I'm sorry.
that makes a little more sense.
April.
Makes more sense.
All right, well, the way you were discussing,
April.
like, how's this?
Yeah, what am
He's
I
got a short
talking
month
about?
this month.
Yeah, April.
We're already 8 days into it.
I'm all messed up here.
April 1st then.
Yeah, it'll be April.
April 1st is Friday.
Yeah, that's not gonna be the first.
Not the first, it'll be the first
First
Tuesday in April.
Tuesday, which will be the 5th,
Yeah,
correct?
Yes, it'll be the first Tuesday, which is April 5th.
okay,
And they meet at 6:30.
yeah. He's supposed to, he might be coming in tomorrow to see if he can get all his packets together and have everything ready. So I can get that out as early as possible, give them plenty of time to sort through it.
Once again, that's April the 5th.
Correct.
And that's the zoning commission dealing with the billboard on Route 2. And just-
Correct.
So just to get this straight, Sandstone, though, is hoping to have their design and site plan review
March.
on Tuesday, March 1st.
But I seriously don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think, because he's coming in for the first time to review with me tomorrow, if he does come in, and I seriously doubt he'll have everything all together. The amount of stuff that has to be done there, so I'm gonna go over it and see, and we'll see what happens. He may end up going to April as well, but we don't know yet. I'm gonna find out tomorrow.
Because he'd have to have it all done by the 14th to meet the 15 days prior to the zoning commission.
Correct.
Okay, so we'll definitely know by February 14th that
Correct.
there's going to be a design review on March 1st.
Correct. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
That's a big project. There's a lot going on there.
Okay. And you will have, if that does come off, just as the guy that gave the informal on the billboard, you'll have that recommend for Sandstone. It may be, I think you mentioned Bramhall Engineering, whoever comes in, that they can display it up
Oh, yes,
on the
yes.
screen, so we can also show anybody that's watching the meeting on
Right.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, brand balls are where it at. He said that's the way they usually do it anyway, so.
Good. Well, and you saw for the sign one at the zoning commission, it worked out real nice, and
Oh, yeah.
that gentleman was all prepared for it too, and then everyone could see it versus just the people sitting up
Correct.
at the desk.
Is this something that's gonna be taken care of in one night?
Yeah, it should be. It's just a design review. It's not,
You're talking the design review for the sign right now?
no, not for the sign, the design review for the sandstone development. That may or may not get done in one day. I don't know.
Yeah, that's up to the zoning commission.
That's correct.
All right, there any other questions for Remy?
No, I do not have any.
Okay, roads, parks, and cemetery, Superintendent Smarsh.
I don't have too much for tonight, but dealt with the big snowstorm, and things went well. I hope the people in the valley are patient. We don't have salt, dealing with Cargill, always a problem. So I ordered the salt a month ago. 2 weeks ago, I called back for them, and they said that they're running behind, but they'll have it in. Obviously, it still hasn't come in, so we didn't salt the valley, except for the hills and a couple of the intersections, just in case we have ice storms, which is more necessary. The roads are still passable, but you just never know when the ice is gonna show up and you're gonna need that salt. And we're down to a small amount, and until I get some salt in, have a little bit on reserve, it's just gonna have to kind of take it easy in the valley. But we kept it clean as best we could. I thought we did a good job, and hey, we had to do what we had to do. It was a long day.
Yeah, I'm sure, I'm sure you guys were tired.
How is the county with salt? Are they short too?
I'm
The
sorry?
county? How is the county?
Everybody's short. And even Summit County had contacted Amherst Township to see what we had for a contract and who we had for a contract, because they have Cargill and they can't get their salt. I don't know, the past 4 years, we've been with Compass Mineral, and I call up and within 5 days, we have our order. And I remember back in 17 with Cargill, for some reason, it's always a shortage and always something going on. So I don't know. One of them things you just got to deal with, and we're fine and dandy. It's just you don't have the smoothest roads to drive on in Hidden Valley at the time. We do have salt, though, if there is a bad ice storm when you definitely would need it. So it's one of them things you got to kind of play it. You got to play the game.
Yeah, and you're doing the right thing, Kevin, because as you're aware, it makes it difficult in the subdivisions, not just the valley, but Copper Creek and Pinehurst and over in Kay and Linda, but those are lower speed limit roads anyway. The real concern is on the main roads that have the higher traffic, higher speed limits, even when road conditions are there, and we need to take care of those because that's where more serious accidents and injury to person and property can occur. And that's where the salt's got to be first. So you're doing the right thing, and yeah, we went through this once before, and you're going to have to watch the stock, though now with everything lit up and cameras will be less inclined. We used to have people that would try and pilfer out of the stockpile there too and take salt out of there. So yeah, I still remember a resident calling, hey, I saw a guy. I said, this is back when the shortage happened, and I said, did you get the plate number? Nope. It's like,
Right.
there's not a whole lot we can do other than notify the sheriff, but what are they going to do with it? Okay, some guy came in a pickup truck and loaded up with salt and took off. The guy did, the local resident saw him and told me about it, told me about the truck, but he had no other information.
Yeah, it's tough. But other than that, Linda and I have been working on the mini grant. I do believe we have everything taken care of except for the resolution.
which we've got here tonight, because we're actually going to get it done tonight. She did send that out. I then went ahead and made some adjustments, let her know what I adjusted, and let her know we'd get it passed tonight.
Okay.
The only thing we don't have in there is the map, because when she had scanned it, she said the scan didn't come out real well, so she didn't send the map. So you'll have to include that, because you'll get a certified copy from Chris after tonight. You have a copy in your packet with the colored photos. The rest of us all have the black and white. But, other than putting that in, we should be good to go.
Yeah, okay. And I do have the map in my whole packet that will be delivered to Don. So as soon as I get the resolution, then we'll be
Yeah.
through. And I'll get it to him.
Yep, okay. Yeah, and unfortunately, if that map would have come through, we could have emailed it over, because they accept before, but you might even have, if you've got it all, Chris might be willing to hand deliver it.
Probably do that.
Excellent. That's all I have.
Okay, are there any questions for Kevin?
No.
All right, well, there are a few things here, and we'll start in your packet on the roads. The first one, and I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, Kevin, and I don't know that it'll even be necessary, is the county engineer is looking that we get back to them by April 1st if we are going to participate in the chip and seal county bid. And I sent you an email, and you got a copy in your packet. In 2017, we did Tina Lane, Rice Court, Horniak, and Erie Street. And that was roughly $11,200. And in 2019, we did Bechtel, and it was just under $20,000. 2021, we redid Tina Lane, Rice Court, and Horniak. We didn't do Erie Street. There, all we had to do was a chip and seal. That was roughly $10,200. That $11,200 in 2017 actually might be misleading, because the township also had to do some leveling and whatnot prior to the chip and seal, whereas in 2021, we didn't need that pre-leveling to be done. So it's just, if you see any of the chip and seal roads that we need to get done, we want to get into this bid. Okay,
Yeah.
Prior to that, we'll need to pass a resolution. And we'll also need estimates from the county engineer.
Correct. I've talked with Sean about it, and he was even with me one day when we was out on Horniak. And I feel that it's not necessary to do chip and seal this year.
Okay. Well, and that's really looking at this, we went 4 years between the last one. Okay. All right, and that's fine. We just need to know one way or the other, and we need to let them know, if we're not going to participate.
Sure. And I told him that I was going to speak
Okay.
mine, and I would get back in touch with him and let him know.
Okay, well, good. And then, just so we know, if you look at G2 coming down, it's probably going to be next month. Typically, it's in March that ODOT provides the opportunity to participate with them in a statewide bid for salt, and that's where, as you said, we had Compass Minerals in the past. Now we're back to Cargill, and that's, they're always going to switch because it depends who wins the bid. But we'll be going through that again. And I'm sure ODOT's getting the notices from people as to what's going on, but I don't know that that'll weigh in on the decision. For the most part, if they meet the spec and come in as lowest bidder, they're going to, and have no issues with the state in terms of auditing, they're probably going to get it. But whether you receive that, Chris, or Kevin, or someone, if we get something from ODOT on that, we need it right away, because we've had in years past, sometimes we get skipped and then we're in a scramble
Right.
to get in with them, so I don't know how they maintain their email list. Okay, we'll move on then. I have no report on Lorco. We'll move on though to Phase 2, MS4 for stormwater. Kevin's already mentioned the mini grant. You have in your packet a prepared resolution authorizing the application for the Lorraine County Stormwater District mini grant financial assistance for the storm sewer replacement on Broadway Street. And Kevin and Linda have put together quite a bit here. I was really surprised they got this together in this time, particularly with the way the weather's been going on. And but Kevin's got the estimate, and you've got the estimate in here for replacing the storm tile, in addition to clearing out the, and this is that old clay tile, and then clearing out the open section of the ditch. The replacement tile, it's actually 360 feet. You'll see we've been carrying on our resolution since, or I'm sorry, on our agenda since November of 2017. We've had this as a future project to be taken care of. At that time, we had Kevin just give off the top of his head, and he had given 300 feet. And what Kevin's been doing is we've just been paying for jetting of that sewer to keep it clear, because it obviously gets all the issues with sediment and tree roots getting in there. So getting this replaced will prevent that annual jetting going on if we get approved for this. And he is asking for the maximum amount with $7,500, which, as a reminder, in the past it was only $5,000 was the max. And the county's also increased the amount available for all the townships to compete on to $50,000 for projects. So you had this on a short notice. You only had a day to look at it. But if you have any questions, I'll defer to Kevin. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the authorization of application for the Lorraine County Stormwater District mini grant financial assistance for storm sewer replacement on Broadway.
I so move. I'll move.
Did you want to second that, Denny?
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay, are there any questions on this? Okay, if none, then roll call, Chris?
Urick?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes. And the number on that, Chris?
2322.
You can get a certified copy to Kevin
I will.
this evening. Actually, Kevin, really, if you work with Chris and get the original together, she can walk everything up. And thanks, Chris, I appreciate that.
No problem, I'm going there.
Yeah. Okay, then an item, I'm going to move on, and let's see. David, is there anything on solid waste?
Just the policy committee met today. We reviewed a few more sections of the plan update. We're looking at the opportunity to recycle, waste reduction, and recycling rates, waste management capacity, and of all things greenhouse gas emissions. Continuing the review of the plan update. The next meeting of the policy committee will be on April 12th. The district revenue last year was around 2.3 million. Expenditures was about 2.94, about the same. We're still sitting on a sort of 4.1 million, almost a $4.2 million carryover. And 2021 was the second busiest year for the collection center in their record keeping. So that's about it on that. The only other question, for those who've dealt with Tiffany Barker, she's moving over to transit. She'll be in transit. And so there'll be a one, Thomas Patrick, he'll be her replacement. She'll still be in the background a little bit, helping with the transition, but she will be moving on to a different office.
Who was the gentleman replacing her?
Thomas Patrick.
The third. Thomas Patrick the third.
Not to be confused with the second, but the third.
There'll be
And
duties split.
I was going to ask you, did you receive anything yet from the county for solid waste?
Yes.
We did,
We
we
did.
got our check.
Yes, we got our check.
Okay, so we got our money back on that.
I do have one question, and we'll have to go back. I skipped over complaints, but I received an email from Megan Moore that was sent out to the Waste Hauling Consortium, and it appears there's some consideration of using some of the funds in the administrative fee. Must have been some discussion about using that to provide plastic bags to cover up large furniture or, material items that the current waste hauler, being Rumpke, requires. Were you part of that discussion, or?
It came up, these of plastic. I don't recall anything formal happening with it. No.
Was somebody lobbying for that, or what was the groups? Did you sense what the groups?
No, just, can we do this, can we do that, or something to help with something to help with people, or...
Yeah, I would just be concerned if, I think that at this point in time, my personal opinion would be if the fee is still, if that account is still growing, that we reduce it again, and I realize it's only pennies, on a resident's account, but David, I'm just concerned, if the consortium starts looking at expending fees or expending monies to give out to certain residents, even though it might be available to all of them, that's just going to be an administrative difficulty and probably not the best use of funds. I think most people can figure out how to cover up.
My concern is that money is explicitly for the district for the bidding of the contract and the maintenance
Yes.
of the contract.
And all
It's
the
not
legal-
a solid waste fund that you can do anything with as far as solid waste. It's not supposed to be that. That's not what it was collected for.
So it sounds like we're in agreement. I just want to make sure, because you're our formal representative there.
Yeah, that it doesn't
I
go
would
nuts
not
like that.
support that.
No.
And it sounds like.
I don't
we're
think we
not.
can. I really don't think we could as a district and as a consortium. And then like you say, you start playing Santa Claus. I don't know if you can.
Yeah, well, read the email that the legal advisor just sent out, Megan Moore, because I was a little concerned when I saw that, and you just know how you start down that path, and next thing you know, everybody's got a good idea and trying to be good Samaritans, and before
Or the-
long, you don't have the money to do the meat and potatoes, which is pay your legal expenses,
Yeah, but-
and particularly get the next contract period bid out,
That's
so you
not-
get a low
not what
price for
that fee was
everything.
collected for. And it's not to buy plastic cups for somebody or pens or something like that. It's for the
Right.
contract.
Okay. Well, we're in agreement. I just wasn't at the last meeting, and I was surprised when I saw that was even being considered. Okay. All right, well, I will move back to complaints since I inadvertently skipped that. First one, which deals with stormwater, and we know that's on hold. Remy, the second one, this was the complaint about the property maintenance on Rosedale.
Yes, I contacted the gentleman, and he had a unfinished roof, and he got he was starting a fence, didn't get a permit. So he's going to come in and get a permit for the fence, and then he's going to finish the roof and the fence this spring.
And have you notified the person that complained to so that they know what's going on?
I did not, as of yet. I wanted to stop by and talk to them directly
Okay,
and see what's going on. I was going to try to do that tomorrow.
okay, good. All right, and then the next one, this was one that came through the internet question. This is for you to address. This is where the individual is interested in a property on Dewey Road that he says is in bad condition. He'd like to convert into a duplex conversion. He wants to put storage containers on the property. He's obviously looked at our zoning resolution, but if we don't allow it, he's not interested in purchasing it.
I did contact him through the email and tell him that neither one of those things are allowed.
Okay, good, thank you. I can take
So
that
we
off.
can take that off then.
Yep,
That's number 3.
yes, number 3. And then the next one, I guess, David, you can take off too. This was, I only put your name down since it dealt with lighting, but Linda sent out an email. A second resident called on the very same light. This was at the intersection of D and Rustic Hill, and they'd already contacted Ohio Edison, which is really all we can do because
Is the light
Ohio Edison
back
has to repair it. That I can't tell you, but if you could on your way home,
Yeah,
Want me
first
to
I'll
leave it
get
on
to
till
see
you
if
check
it's
it?
on.
I don't know that they repaired it yet. Linda just sent out the email that another resident called and informed her that they had already contacted Ohio Edison about this. So I
When was
don't know
that?
if Ohio Edison's taken action.
When did you talk to Linda?
Kevin, there is a sign missing on Rustic Hill and Dewey, what's that road Rustic Hill comes out on?
Deepwood?
Deepwood.
That's been replaced,
That's been replaced
yes.
recently,
3 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago. Okay, well, I just got an email on that. Did you get that?
I didn't get that email. Probably somebody
Street
that
sign.
has your email and,
No, it was sent by you.
There was an email about a street sign being down.
Yeah.
That was a
that's-
while ago.
Yeah, that's probably been about, the email for Deepwood and Rustic Hill.
Rustic Hill, the Rustic Hill sign was missing. The last time I was there, it was missing.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, I'll
you-
double check it again in case somebody just took the new one.
All right.
But it was 3 weeks ago that was replaced, because the light at that intersection was out as well.
right.
Right.
You took care of that one as far as contacting Ohio Edison, getting it changed.
Correct.
Well, if you have time, check it out and see. Well, I just got the email the last 2 days or 3 days. So
Oh.
if you would please check it.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. And then call me. And then I'll take it off my list.
And if it's taken again, we'll start checking with all residents with the last name of Hill and Deepwood, right?
correct.
All right, David, to your question on the one for the light out at Rustic Hill and D, and you received this email also. Linda sent it to you yesterday. And it says, on Thursday afternoon, I was contacted by a resident regarding this very issue, and she had already contacted Ohio Edison to report it. Okay.
I know sometimes they have to do, they're pretty quick about it. Usually within 3 days they get to a light. Although sometimes they get to the light and they find out there's something a little more wrong with them than what they thought. And they have to do some repairs or order a part for it, and that may take a while. It may take a week or two to get that part. So,
Well, I'll leave
kind of
it-
where it is in the process, it's something we just have to do follow-up on and make sure it gets,
I'll leave that
Oh,
complaint open till you report that the light's been changed, since you're heading down that way anyway in the
Yeah.
nighttime.
Rustic Hill and D, yeah.
Yep,
See if that one's
okay?
working, yeah.
All right, the next item was just correspondence. This is where Linda forwarded to us that NOPEC did approve. We had to put in a new profile just to receive the award for the NOPEC Energized Community Grant, and we did receive that award. I don't know if you've actually received the funds yet, Chris. It'll be $12,010. Okay. But everything's in place now for those funds to be available, and Kevin, that's where you'll keep on working on the LED conversion.
Yep.
Great.
Tech Energy.
Energized Community Grant. give it NEC for short. The amount is $12,010 for this year. Correct. Okay. And the last item, which we've kept it under new business, and the trustees did have a work session with the county engineer regarding our street standards and soil stabilization back in, it was November 29th. And then since then, I've been working with Bob Kleiber. Based on the discussion the trustees had then, we've been going back and forth on an updated street standard. The key Bob indicated was that he didn't want us giving specifics as far as the road construction, which many of the communities had. He wanted to just reference the ODOT specifications because some of these specs change. And if we just say keep it as the current specification, as those specifications change, we'll stay updated. But we need to set a meeting to meet with Bob. You've got the document in your packet as far as where he's suggesting we may have to continue to include items in our a resolution that then we would have to have the county commissioners agree with to go into the county planning subdivision review regulations as far as if we're changing the road standard, which since ours really doesn't comply even today, we actually have to. You will see in the drawing Bob provided, I really like this better. Before we had two different drawings, one for residential streets, one for non-residential. Bob's actually combined that onto a single drawing, and you look to the left, that deals with the residential street construction. To the right deals with the commercial street construction, and just the old phrase that a picture's worth 1,000 words. This takes out a lot of the wording and it gives all the ODOT specifications. The Word document that Bob provided, and his email references color. Obviously, you didn't get copies in color, but it just goes through where we'd have to include things like our right-of-ways, whether the subgrade, he still hasn't addressed that. That's something the trustees need to decide on chemical stabilization, if that's standard or based on the proof roll, and whether that proof roll will be an ODOT spec. But we specifically put in there, Kevin, that the township road superintendent must be present. And I still think that's a valid thing we should include, but we need to decide if we're putting those in. Some of the under drains and catch basins and distances, we put in items that aren't identified in the ODOT spec, street lighting, sidewalks. So if the trustees and the road soup can read through all this, and then we've got to set a meeting. I'm hoping that we can meet on Thursday, February 17th. And then, Kevin, I'm going to ask for you, it'd be in the morning. Do you prefer 7:30 or 8 o'clock?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, well then it's up to Dave and Denny. Do you prefer 7:30 or 8 o'clock?
Probably 7:30.
Okay.
I prefer 7:30.
Okay, then let's then set up to meet with a county engineer at
Yes.
7:30 a.m. on Thursday, February 17th at the Township Hall. And just bring this document with you after you reviewed it. Because I want to make sure we're all in agreement before we start putting together the final standard and resolution to be passed, and we'll shoot to try and get this all done then for consideration and passage in March.
That's 7:30, Thursday the 17th.
Yep, 7:30 a.m., Thursday, February 17th. And bring this document with you. And if you have the documents for the old standard, you can bring those also. I provided those to you in the past. I'll try and get them printed out if I can before that meeting too. And you'll have the direct comparison. Okay, that's all I had. Is there any other business?
Neil, what is this,
The
Oh,
ARPA.
that is the template that the attorneys from, was it Baker and Dublicar had put together to consider for a standard allowance of revenue loss resolution, just so you could look at it.
just so we could look at
You
it?
can look at it if you're available at the meeting on February 17th for Lorraine County Township Association. I don't have my book here as far as where that meeting location is going to be, but that'll all, the discussion of ARPA will be there, this resolution will be discussed, and hopefully we get everything ironed out there, and I'm going to be in contact with the prosecutor's office before that, and send him the email from the Office of Budget Management. I think we're still okay, but we don't want to be expending funds that way until we get a definite and pass this resolution, and that'll make it a lot easier for Chris, a lot easier on Linda, a lot easier for you guys, Kevin. You know, a lot less record keeping that'll have to be done. Okay, if there's no other business, our next regular meeting is on Tuesday, February 22nd at 7 o'clock p.m. And then we'll call it a work session at 7:30 a.m. on Thursday, February 17th at the Amherst Township Hall. Is there any need for an executive session? If not, then can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second,
Abraham?
Yes.
Gary?
yes.
Lynch?
Yes.